What is up, MMA fans? This is Souto for Sherdog.com, and today I have the pleasure to talk with Professional Fighters League light heavyweight contestant, Mr. Rob Wilkinson. Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm very good, thanks, buddy. How you doing?
I'm fine as well. Thanks for asking. Are you at home right now?
Yeah. Well, the home in Denver I'm staying at.
Right, because you're Australian and currently you're training at Factor X, that's right.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, after the first fight in the PFL, I came to Denver to train, so I didn't have to travel back and forth from Australia.
How come did you choose to switch camps?
One part was the travel, especially with the COVID in Australia, and I didn't want to end up getting stuck in Australia with the restrictions. They were easing them up, but I didn't, if anything happened and they closed the borders again, I didn't want to get stuck there and not be able to fight because of that reason, or like if you had COVID and couldn't travel. And two, I got recommended Mark as the coach at head coach at Factory X, and just wanted to kind of try a new gym and get some new coaching and some new bodies to train with.
And how is it to train in Colorado, especially with the altitude?
Yeah, Colorado is awesome. Factory X and Mark, really good coach, and there's really good bodies there, and everyone's lovely. The altitude took me probably about 2 weeks to get used to. I was struggling for a little bit. Obviously, I just fought, so I was very fit, and I thought I would be okay, but it was hard to get used to. But now I'm used to it, and hopefully get the benefits when I go back down to sea level to compete.
Well, it appears that it was quite beneficial for you. Your path in the PFL regular season has been amazing. You earned your spot on the upcoming playoffs. Before we talk about that, who were some of the names you have been sparring with at Factory X?
The name's Dustin Jacoby, who's a light heavyweight in the UFC. I think he's ranked 15. He's been one of my main training partners, so it's really good working with such a high-level guy. And then there's been Josh and Cody, who are both had like 1 or 2 fights in the UFC at middleweight. But like young guys coming up, and they're really good. So they've been my 3 main training partners, but there's quite a few other guys there that I've been working with, yeah.
And are you going to train with them for your upcoming fight as well with Delan Monte?
Yeah. So I'm staying here training with them. For this lead up. Yeah.
Now that you secured a place on the playoffs, do you still feel the urge to finish your opponents?
I'm never rushing to finish my opponents. Like I'm never, even in the regular season, I know you get more points for the finishes, but I'm not like trying to rush it or make it happen out of nowhere. But like if you look at my record, and I kind of said this going into the PFL, the style of points or finishes, and especially the earlier finishes, suits me well, as I've got, out of my 15 wins, I've got 14 finishes, and 12 of them I think are in the first round. So, that's just kind of my style. I think once I see an opportunity, I see someone's hurt, I'm pretty good at finishing the fight then.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody can contest your killer instinct. I was more, curious about the fact that perhaps you would adopt a more, safe strategy, to preserve yourself for the final.
Not really. I think getting a fight over quickly is probably more safe, injury wise, and going into the next one. It doesn't matter if you win a fight. It doesn't matter if you dominate a fight for 15 minutes. If you fight for 15 minutes, you're going to be sore afterwards. You're going to have, you're going to be banged up. You're going to have, your hand might be sore, your shins might be sore, whatever. But if you can try and put them away early, obviously less damage to you.
You're scheduled to face Delan Monte on August the 5th. How do you, expect this fight to go down?
I think he comes out, from what I've seen, quite aggressive in most of his fights. He seems like he gets pretty worked up, and he's got some good boxing. He's probably got some one of the better striking in the division. I know he's a high-level black belt at judo and competed. I'm not sure if he competed in the Olympics for Brazil or competed for the Brazilian team, but Yeah, I see him coming out quite aggressive early, but I think once he feels my power and I'm got the range and got the height on him, and I'll keep him at distance, I think he'll struggle to close that gap. So I think I'll be able to keep my distance and control the fight where I want to control it, whether that's on the feet or whether I want to take him down and beat him there.
Did you expect to get matched up with Monte?
Not really, I guess. I did think even in his first fight, it only, he finished after the first fight, it was on the bottom of the ladder since he got finished in 30 seconds. But watching that fight, I thought his striking was still good, but he just made a mistake, got taken down, and obviously against the former champ. So it was obviously a hard one for him to come back and make the finals. But so I wasn't expecting to fight him, but I'm happy with the matchup, and he did really well in his last fight and showed that he can finish the fight, and he's got all the skills, beating another former PFL champ from a few years ago. Yeah.
The PFL is going to hold some of the playoffs overseas. You told me that, in Australia, the situation is still a little bit complicated. It's still difficult to, promote events over there. But once the whole situation calms down, would you like to see the PFL holding an event in Australia?
Yeah, I'd love that. There hasn't been any big promotions go to Australia for a while. UFC are the only ones that really do, and they haven't been there for some time. So I think if PFL go, especially with me in the final, it would be huge over there, and it would be awesome to fight for a world title and win a world title in my home country. That would mean a lot to me. So I've got my fingers crossed that they go to Australia. I'm not sure if they will, but it would be awesome. It'd be perfect.
Of course, fingers crossed. You mentioned Australia and the UFC. You actually fought Israel Adesanya, the current UFC middleweight champion, in his promotional debut in Australia. So I would like to hear from you. Did you imagine that he would become UFC champion one day when you faced him back in the days?
I mean, obviously, when I first faced him, I wasn't imagining that. That was more imagining myself become the world champion. But after, watching him fight and then fighting him and then watching his next couple of fights, I actually went down and trained with him in City Kickboxing. And you could see that was his kind of path, and he was dominating all his fights. I learned a lot even just from talking to him when I went down and trained with him after I fought him. They were very clever with how they approached the UFC, and they waited till he was ready to go straight to the top. They, they were offered fights well before that they turned down and said, waiting till he's got his full game ready to go compete in the top 10, go compete for the world title in the UFC. And he showed that after, winning the world title, with under 2 years of his first fight. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite an impressive path. Have you watched Adesanya's fight with Jared Cannonier?
Yeah, I watched that fight. I watched the card.
May I ask your opinion on that clash in particular?
I mean, I don't know why so many people are giving Israel. I guess they always give, anyone who's at that high level and, defending their belt so many times, they like to make criticisms of anything they do, saying it's a boring fight or if you're not finishing a fight. But as I've seen people say, like, it takes two to fight. Israel's winning the fight quite clearly. He's dominating each round. He's not getting hurt. And, why should he have to do anything else other than that if his opponent's not doing anything? Jared Cannonier is losing the fight, so he's the one who needs to take, bigger risks to try and make something happen. As always, his striking is just on another level than everyone, and his range, and he was able just to control the fight from there. I think maybe even after, Alex Volkanovski's fight being so entertaining and him being so dominant, maybe that's also why then the next fight didn't look as exciting or as dominant.
Yeah, I see. I understand. Rob, I finished my questions. Do you have any last messages before I let you go?
No, I'm all good. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time today. Best of luck with your upcoming fight, and hopefully I will hear again from you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a nice one. Bye-bye.
See you.